Welcome in, everybody. It is Down the Local in the box with. This week, we are in the box with FMFO official. Josh, how are you, my friend?
I mean, I'm like a Bobby Dazzler, I am, mate. I cannot smile wide enough or my teeth would all fall out.
Beautiful. Don't do that on the show. That'd be a bit weird, though. We are in today in the box with the standard 5 questions. Obviously, Josh recently starting the streaming on Twitch. Obviously had all the stuff on YouTube for ages. Yellow Peril, the Norwich save, was the last thing I saw on YouTube.
Yeah.
Ironically, I was doing a Save the Canaries, or I am still doing Save the Canaries on Twitch, but they're actually quite good, aren't they? And
do you know what? Yes, I'm in my 3rd season, and I've just recorded the Champions League game because I thought I want to finish it. I'm just going to focus on the Champions League because I got into the Champions League after just 2 seasons.
Yeah, me too.
But without any spoilers, it's unnerving. It's going so well. It's unnerving.
Yeah.
Which what was Daniel Farke doing?
No, I know. My first season, I think I finished 8th. Second season, I finished 4th. Third season, I'm in the Champions League, and I won my group consisting of Atletico Madrid and 2 other teams. Can't remember the other ones were, but they were pretty
Juventus and Real Madrid, I've got in mind.
Oh, yeah, no, I had Atletico. I can't even remember who the other 2 were, but it was 2 teams that were pretty tidy, and I cruised through it. Oh, Bayern Munich for one. And then I think it was Dynamo Kiev or something like that, and I cruised through the group, and it's like, oh, Jesus Christ. So yeah, and I've made loads of money as well. So that's clearly happening, and Delia's obviously just stashing it all away. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Norwich. We are here to talk about your football love and where it all came from. Guys and girls, you will be able to find all of the links for FMFO official for Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter, all underneath him. Make sure you go and check out, as I say, new to the Twitch scene as well, but new to the Twitch streaming scene. Been around on Twitch for ages, but new to the Twitch streaming scene. So make sure you drop over there and drop a follow, and then the subs on all the other bits and pieces. Let's get into it. So let's start with question number 1. Josh, what is your first real memory of football?
Well, I'm going to bring it up on my phone because I had to Google this because I remember the game and the event itself. Yep. So it was Wales-Holland or Wales-Netherlands. I remember my dad took me and my sister.
Nice.
First, I don't know if it was the first live sporting event I've ever been to. I just cannot remember. But I just have memories of my dad taking us in Cardiff Arms Park. And
wow.
It was all the Wales fans. I think the attendance was 34,500, which isn't too bad. I don't think for a Wales game. It was a qualifier. The likelihood is, being Wales in a World Cup qualifier, we probably weren't doing very well. But so to get 34,000 there, I think was pretty impressive.
Yeah,
I remember it was raining. Well, the weather wasn't particularly good, but they had, if I remember correct, a Cruyff. There was a Cruyff in the team, Jordi Cruyff,
yeah.
Clarence Seedorf, Cuckoo, Van der Sar, Van Hooijdonk. Frank de Boer was playing, Roy Mackay, Ronald de Boer, so the de Boer brothers in there.
Wow.
But for Wales, I was Neville Southall.
Big Nev.
Big Nev, the bin man. Mark Hughes and Dean Saunders up front. And the only other name I recognised was Kit Simon. So it wasn't, we've always gone through periods of having fairly decent players in the Welsh team. It's just getting them together and getting them to play well. And we were managed by Bobby Gould.
Wow, big old Bobby. What a legend he was.
Some names. Now, in my head, I know Big Nev had a sensational game. Right. I remember just watching him thinking, look how well he's doing. And he was fat. He was a great big guy. And he's performing so well, which gave me hope. Because I thought, if a big chunky monkey can do well and play for Wales, there's hope for all of us. But in my head, I know he was man of the match. But in my head, we conceded like 20 goals. It wasn't. It was. I've had a look online, and it's 3-1. It was in 1996. Okay. So I was 10 at the time, and only 3-1, which it felt a lot more. So I can only assume they must have been peppering us with shots, which makes sense because Big Nev was man of the match. But it was just that excitement and that passion of being there, all the Wales fans together, all singing, the weather being horrible. we were getting absolutely pounded, but the fans were still there. They were still cheering. They were still chanting on the team. And I was there, obviously there with my dad and my little sister, who was about 18 months younger than me.
Yeah.
And it was just a great experience. And that always stuck out in my mind. I can't remember the journey there. I can't remember the journey back. There were no specifics. It's not like a specific memory which I can pinpoint on, but it's just the event. If I close my eyes now, I can still see them, the guys playing, you know, the orange kits just everywhere. They're just absolutely everywhere. I think Dean Saunders scored first. And I can't remember if he was at Liverpool at the time or not.
96, he was at Villa.
Was he?
I was going to gone to Villa, yeah. Or he may have even left Villa by then.
Yeah, because I was trying, because I supported Liverpool because we had a couple of Welsh players who I'm from in the Valleys. You can't support Cardiff or Swansea because they're all towny teams. Yeah. And Newport County were just, again, another towny. So it was between Liverpool and United. All my friends supported United just because. I think just because. But you had Rushy there. I'm sure Dean Saunders was there at some point. And there's
he was at Liverpool,
legends.
Yeah, early 90s, Dean Saunders was at Liverpool. Villa signed him from Liverpool.
That makes sense as to why because I can always remember these players being at Liverpool, and I was about 5 when I started supporting. It was 91 when I started supporting Liverpool.
So it would have been around that sort of time. Yeah.
Oh, seriously, look at that. I'm not a Glory fan because we've won nothing in my lifetime up until recently. But it was just that was my earliest memory. The thing that I it was just that being in the stadium, being wet. Soaked through and just watching, Big Nev sliding everywhere. And that's my first memory of football.
That's brilliant. And I mean, it's good to go back to there as well, because I remember being sort of, 10, 11, around the early 90s, and always looking at the Welsh team and thinking, how are they so bad? Why do they never qualify? You've got Ryan Giggs, you've got Mark Hughes, you've got Ian Rush, you've got Dean Saunders. There was just a plethora of really good attacking players there. But what I didn't really have the concept of at the time was Neville Southall was getting old and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And
he didn't have a low starting point either, did he?
No, he was always a unit, but he was a unbelievably good goalkeeper. But he started to sort of wane a little bit. And I think you had Gary Speed in midfield. And that was it. After that,
Robbie Savage.
He was a lot later though, wasn't he?
I know they crossed over at some stage.
Yeah,
Speedy was much older.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was that there was never that crossover where they were all there together. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I thought we've not had that team spirit up until the last sort of 10 years, really. We haven't had that same team, because it was almost like playing for Wales was an inconvenience for some of the bigger players in there.
Yeah, well, Giggs only ended up with 50 odd caps, didn't he? And you think, mate, you've been playing for 20 years. How is that the case?
It's shameful, isn't it? He was out beating women up, wouldn't he? That's he was taking all of his time. Allegedly.
That's why he can't manage the team at the moment. But nothing. Well, apparently, all of this stuff is all allegedly. I don't think he watches though, so we're probably all right.
You never know though. I'm here today. It depends on what you advertise.
That's true. Yeah, and it depends on what access he's got, depending on where he's holed up at the moment.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Caveats. I'll put a caveat at the bottom under this to say, allegedly.
FMFO is a liability.
Yeah, allegedly. We move on. Question number 2. So, what's the first major international tournament you remember then? What is it that sort of stands out? What's the thing that you really remember most?
Now, I think I'm pretty confident it's Euro 96.
Yeah,
I'm pretty confident. I think Alan Shearer playing then and playing well.
Yeah.
And is that where Gareth Southgate missed his penalty?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that was. Do you know what? As a Welshman, I mean, obviously we didn't qualify for tournaments up until recently, and it's difficult supporting England. So, I mean, a lot of people sort of think, it's just Welsh English. The thing is, what sort of is forgotten often is my age group is sort of the last of this age group. But my dad's dad, so my grandfather, and sort of his father, were in that period of history when the English came over and took over all the coal mines and actually made it illegal for the Welsh people to speak Welsh, and actually made being a Welsh person, having a national pride, very difficult. And that's why, you know, no one in Wales votes Conservative. They vote for Labour Party always, despite all the crap. We have a crap Labour Party in Wales. They are rubbish. And,
they're no better in England.
Do you know, it's dreadful. But they're in all the time, and people moan about them but do nothing. But it's that. So it's really recent history that the English people, if you like, in inverted commas. I speak this. I've not got the discrimination. My wife's English, so was my daughter. She was born in Coventry. But it was that period of history where legitimately English people had oppressed the Welsh for a sustained period of time, and so obviously that was tremendous. Well, that was in my grandfather's lifetime. It was like in my father's younger lifetime, and obviously he was a coal miner, and that was shut by the English Conservative government. So there was legitimately a period where we had been sort of downtrodden by England. So to have any sort of support was really strange. But I think there was a bit of groundswell of support for England. And we watched most of the games I can remember at the family barbecues at my grandmother's house. So I come from a massive family. My dad's one of 5. And each of his siblings have got at least 3 kids. My mum's one of 6, and all of them, it was exactly the same. I've got something like 30 odd cousins, or we're like a clan. You know, we have the world's most expensive weddings just on immediate family only. But we all went to my nan had a big bungalow and a big garden that then like sort of on the side of the mountain, and we would all go there. And I just remember watching all the games, at least 2 or 3 of the England games there. And is that the Euro 96 where Gaza scored against the volley against Scotland?
Yeah,
and I watched that at my friend's house. Ian Stapleton, that's not his name now. I can't remember what his name is now. His parents could be married or something.
Right, okay.
And I was around his house, so I know I'm not name dropping him, so he's not going to get bombarded. But I remember going around his house, playing with wrestling toys, but watching that game as well in the background, and you just stopped for that goal. We were like engrossed in whatever we were doing, but you just caught it at the corner of your eye, and you just stopped and thought, "Wow!" And we ended up watching them the rest of the game after that, and it was that game, and then obviously the semi-finals, I think it was against Germany, with Southgate missed it, and it was really funny because all the way through the game, everybody wanted England to win. We were willing you to win, which is really strange. Like I said, from a country that in very recent history did not like England, but for good reason. But we were all rooting you on, and everybody was behind it. And then when Southgate missed, everyone thought it was really funny. it was just really strange how we could go from wanting England to win so much because of that Great Britain and that nationalistic sort of thing, but then the fact they did lose, it's England, so we're all right. It was really funny, and I just found that really bizarre. I mean, and that's the first major one that stood out. And then, but as a Welshman, the biggest one was obviously the last Euros where we actually performed well, and the Chris Coleman, and I got as far as we did. Remarkable, absolutely. And that, I think, you know, around Gary Speed, that was Gary Speed's team. The team spirit that he instilled was just, and it was nationally, you could feel it everywhere in Wales. That's that spirit that Gary Speed built. And then when he tragically left, and then Chris Coleman took it over, he managed to keep that team spirit going. And it's just spread. It spread through the country. And it was a really beautiful time, actually. To be in Wales, because we've not felt that. We're only small. If you put London and Birmingham together, that's greater than all of our population combined. So we never expect to have a great team, but to have a team that performs so much above the sum of its parts, I was just, it was absolutely sensational to see professionals like Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey, 2 stars, giving a shit after years of having people treating like international duty with Wales as an afterthought. To have those guys there. Now I'm an emotional guy. Since becoming a dad, I cry at everything, absolutely everything. Disney films, You know, when my kids say something nice to me, when my food's delivered on time, everything. It just makes me well up.
Opening the door to the takeaway man. Just thank you.
And when he goes and we chuck some pompadons in there and a bottle of Pepsi, I just go. But talking about it, remembering that international competition, it was amazing, and it does evoke so many great emotions. And from then, there's just a pride in the Welsh team that we've just not been there before, and it's been really remarkable. So I answered your question a couple of minutes ago, but I just had to get that in there because I just think this is such an influential thing on me, and surely on so many other young Welsh football fans.
Yeah, I mean that Wales team really stood out as well, because I think when you look back at it, as you just sort of said, Bale and Ramsey were really the only two big players in there. The only two that you thought would perform at a quarter-final, semi-final Euro level. No one. I mean, I'm a Reading fan. I never thought I would see how Robson-Kanu playing in a European Euro Champions. Whatever.
And the skills on that goal
against Belgium. He was shit. He was so bad for us. And he's been so bad. I mean, West Brom have let him go.
I know.
West Brom don't want him. And it's just like, how are you doing that? And I think Joe Allen had those fantastic couple of years at Swansea, went to Liverpool.
Yeah, don't remind me.
was as good as he'd ever been. But unfortunately, that was at a lower level. But when he played for Wales, he was the perfect foil for Ramsey. It just everything clicked all at the right time.
The whole team was beautiful. I mean, and players coming off the bench. The way I was thinking, who the hell is this guy? and it just happens, you know. I mean, if you have Wayne Hennessy and Danny Ward as your keepers, really? it's any good. And it was Ashley Williams. I think that was his last tournament.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I can't remember if he had the stupid hair then or not.
Probably he's had a few dodgy ones. But Chris
Gunter, he was out of his skin. Chris Gunter, who ruined his career by he's going to Spurs, didn't he? He went to
Spurs from Forest and then came to Reading. But
what a way to kill your career.
Yeah, brilliant at Reading though for years. People slated him, but brilliant.
He's a good player. But that was my first tournament, and then I threw in my most important one just because I saw the window.
I don't know. I've done my bit. I said we supported England. Now let's talk about how well Wales done.
Exactly. It's only fair. I'll get accused of being xenophobic or something. Otherwise, I'll be hounded out of my own house in the village.
Exactly. Cool. So we move on to question number 3. So, just when you played football, what was primarily your position? Where did you play most regularly?
Well, I played sparingly because cardiovascular activity has not always been my strong point. I used to work out quite a lot. I've always been in good nick aesthetically because I'm very vain and I used to be young and attractive. So aesthetically, it was always, I never did lower body workouts. It was always up things that people could see through a tight shirt is where my focus was. But there were periods of time where I was playing 11-a-side for probably 2-3 seasons. And I could pass. I could pass really well, and my vision was great. And I could put a ball where I needed to do, and I could tackle. The thing that I couldn't do was run or shoot.
Right, okay.
And so it sort of limited me a little bit. That's all I could do. So when I played my best, when I was doing 11-a-side, was in defensive midfield. Because I had a bit more time, I could tackle somebody, and we used to have a saying in the team: "The ball or the man gets past you, never both." And so I was a keen advocate of that. I would go in for the sliding tackle, with my right leg out and my left leg crossed, and often you'd take the ball and then catapult and skittle the player up in the air.
Yeah, that little after flick.
And it was and it was clean, legit. All the time, never through the back of anyone. But then when I did get past the ball, I could just see things and spread it much easier. But what happened was halfway through the second season, our right back left because it was only a small sort of Sunday league team. So they said, look, you can pass and cross a ball. Can you go on the right? I was like, I can do half a game on the bike. I can't, because I was knackered. You'd run all the way up, and then I'd get like 3/4 of the way up. We'd lose possession, then I'd have to come back. Fuck me! I just absolutely knackered, and I'd have spells where I'd be okay, and then for some really bizarre reason, and we got a right back who could play right back, and they moved me into left back. Which, because we didn't have a left back, and I was like, I'm right-footed, exceptionally right-footed, to the point that I'm surprised I could run on my left foot. It was that bad. And the thing is, I could take it so far, but then I would have to stop and either put the ball straight in or come inside. Have to. I'd have no option. So I was the most ineffective left back. But no one else wanted to do it, and because everyone else was like really good at where they played, I just had to slot in. But then my favorite football was 7-a-side. I really enjoyed 7, especially at university. I did the Xbox Power Leagues. I played that up until the point that they introduced fines for yellow cards. And they sent a letter out then with how much money it would have taken up 3/4 of my student loan. I would have been absolutely decimated because
that was when they all affiliated to FAs, wasn't it? Because up until that, it was all private entity, so they didn't care.
And that's the thing. And at that point in time was when I was a bit of a gym head. So upper body strength, I was quite stacked. So as a consequence, my cardio was shot. So what would happen is I'd have my mates, we'd all play. We had like a big guy in goals who was actually a gymnast. So fabulously agile. And we had some good players, but the housemate of mine had actually played professionally. He'd been in West Ham under-19s, Charlton Athletic under-19s, and could have been signed up, but he came from a wealthy family. And they said, if you want, we want to sign you up, but you're going to have to make certain, what's the right word? You're going to have to make certain commitments and discipline. You're going to have to move into this area. And he went, oh, bollocks to that. He didn't need it financially and thought, well, I'm not giving up my curry and whatnot. So, but he would play, and he was one of those. And I think every league has one. And he gets the ball at his feet, and he's got it for as long as he wants it. And then he sort of lays it off. And so what we would do, they'd start the game. I'd be on the sideline, just standing there. I wasn't looking big and menacing, because I'm only about 5'9", but I would just stand there observing. And then quarter of the way through 20 minutes, my mate would have highlighted the best player, and I would go on and irritate the balls out of the other team's best player, and either take him out just by blocking him out of the game, or by getting him, or just to foul him and hurt him so he didn't want to play anymore, or, as happened in the final of a cup competition, getting him sent off just through being a jerk. And I think the one example would be playing the cup final. There are two teams playing. They had a fabulous player on this, brilliant player. And my mate said, that's the guy. Take him out, Josh. So they're in cages in the Xbox Power League, you know? So all I would do, he would always try and run down and try and knock the ball past someone and come in. So what I did, I'd wait for him to knock the ball and then drop the shoulder and slammed him into the cage.
Oh, that hurts as well, because the wood is just around the rib cage, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'd slam him in, and he sort of fell down. And as you go to pick him up, then you do the old Vinnie Jones, pinch him under the arms as you're grabbing him. And he's kicking off, giving it all of this. And the referees go, calm down. Look, you know, he's just, it's not an obstruction. He just stood his ground, blah, 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 blah. And he leant in and said, if you do that again, mate, I'm going to smash your teeth in. And I went, well, don't try to go past me again. And he seemed to take that as a challenge. So I was watching him. He got the ball, and I thought, he's going again, isn't he? He's doing it again. Okay. So he came down, knocked the ball, dropped the shoulder, slammed him into the cage. And I looked at him when he got up with the ferocity of which I've never seen before in my life. And I can honestly say, I've never been knocked off my feet before, but this guy hit me so hard, I actually flew backwards. He was smaller than me. I was on the floor. I think I was sparked out for about 20 seconds, but he got sent off and we won the game. So it all sort of works out. But yeah, so that always been that sort of defensive play. I could break up play and then just distributing it. I'd like to think if I was to be a professional today, I'd be a bit like Xavi Alonso, just less attractive, you know? That's what I'd like to think. I was nowhere near that good, but that's where I would aspire myself to be, you know? That
would be your role model.
Yeah, and he played for Liverpool as well, so
He
it just
did,
works out beautifully, you know.
Yeah, good player, very good player. A lot of love for Xabi Alonso. He's a good player.
Yeah.
So then, theoretically, I'm guessing question 4. One of the what would you have done that would have enhanced your footballing ability? Cardio.
Yeah, I learned to run more than twice in a game would have been really beneficial, because it would be that'll be it. I don't think I've ever played a full game of football ever. I've just never been able to do it. I'd be blowing out my ass after about 3 minutes. I think someone would have to be with the billows to keep me going. And cardio was a big thing. And I got, the irony was I hit sort of early 30, about 30, 31.
Yeah.
And then I actually started working on my cardio then, and I got quite fit. And then when I decided to go back to play football, I actually twisted my knee and knackered that out to the one point in time where I did get fit enough to play. It went, I think the other thing was as well, is just learn to use my left foot, even if it was to a bog standard, you know, which again, ironically, I learned to do in later years. But just while I was playing, I just couldn't do it. You know, if you kick the ball at me and I tried to control it with my left foot, it'd end up sort of 10 foot behind me or something, you know?
Yeah.
So so the cardio, just having that basic ability with your weaker foot, I think is quite important if you want to be able to play of any sort of standard, you know?
Yeah. Not having that fear that if the ball is on that foot, that you're just going to shank it. Well, I mean, I've got people who play for me who literally every time the ball comes to them, you know they're going to try and move it onto their other foot because they are so bad with that one. And all you've done is telegraph. We played a team a few weeks ago, and within 5 minutes, their manager's on the side going, just keep him on his right foot. He's all left-footed. Yeah. And it's like, that's 5 minutes into a game and they've sussed you out.
Yeah, I mean, my nephew is actually very good. He played at Aston Villa actually for about, he's only 6. He was at Aston Villa for about a year, 9 months, a year.
Yeah.
And at the minute, he's actually at Leicester City.
Right.
And he's got Coventry's after him, and that's where they're from. But at the moment, Leicester's got a better facility, so that's where he is. And one of the things that his dad, fair play to him, works really hard with him on his weaker foot, getting his weaker foot up. And they tell you things like, you know, what the scouts look at is your movement and how predictable what you're going to do is. So there's things like being able to control the ball with your outside of your foot to move it onto your stronger or to your weaker foot, and what your stance is like to when you take the ball in, whether you're going to take it on the inside or the outside of your foot, and what that sets you up for, what your next move is going to be.
Yeah,
because they say some players, you can see the way they're standing, this is how they're going to receive the ball. So these are the limited options that they have.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're able to have sort of more face on or take alternative angles to control the ball with different feet and different angles, parts of your foot, whether it be inside or outside, means like your man there, it's much more difficult then to anticipate where you're going to go.
Yeah.
And those things, I didn't think about that. I didn't even know there was a thing until he told me, because he was talking, because you don't get experience like that until you're in it, do you? And there was something the Aston Villa scouts were saying, that's what they were looking at. And so that's what he was working, you know, when the ball comes to you, mix up what you're going to do, how you're going to take it, be aware of what's going on, so you know where you're going to go, so you know where to put that ball, how you to control it to allow you to move without the other person knowing where you're going to go, you know, because you can stand facing here, but if you're able to take the ball on the outside of your foot, it immediately leads you into this direction, you know. Instead of standing here, taking it on the inside, and you've only really got one place to go.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense.
But that was more involved than you were anticipating from me, based on some of my YouTube stuff.
but it's good as well, because it's good to see coaches and clubs trying to instill that in kids that young.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we were having a chat. I was having a chat with previous guests, and one of the issues that you see so much is that kids football, you've got managers and parents shouting different things at the kids.
Yeah,
it makes no rhyme or reason. The kids are there just to enjoy it, and actually they end up not enjoying it because they just feel they're being shouted at the whole time. And there is still that element of get it long, get rid, or give it,
shoot.
Or if you've got one standout kid, they're trying, give it to him, and you think, well, no one's going to get any better if all you do is rely on one good player.
Do you know, the irony is, I went to see Huddersfield Cardiff the other day,
Yeah.
And you could hear the frustration in the fans building up for Huddersfield because they play good football, but they can't release it for love nor money.
Yeah.
And you could hear the fans going, shoot, shoot. And I'm thinking, no, don't. You're thinking he's a professional. He's going to look up and see there's 15 Cardiff players, even though there's only 11 on the pitch. Somehow 15 of them. So the only thing that is going to happen if you kick that ball is it's just going to go over here. But he still does it, and you get that pressure, and that's I think is important to have the proper coaching at grassroots and for kids. Is just vital because it is you get into this animalistic like attack, fight or flight thing, and you just want to shoot. And when you get frustrated, that's where you go. And that's the difference with like the good teams, you know, with your Liverpool and Man City, is that they don't just take that shot. They'll wait and they'll build up play. I would say Liverpool build up play significantly quicker than what Man City do. But they'll take it to a point and they've got skilled players that know where to pull it and how to pull it into certain areas. They don't just get on the edge of the box, think bollocks, whack, and just have to go, you know? Which is what I would do, you know, because you get into yourself into these positions and you just see it and you get all blinkered. But the fact that they're telling the kids, you know, you've got to pass it, you can move, you don't have to win every game. You don't have to get at this point in time. It's all about the development of what you are doing as a player and how you're going to get better. And that's great. And it's really interesting, like I said, just to hear how these professional Premier League clubs are teaching the younger kids and they don't play games to win. They play to develop certain things and look what they're doing. But it's great. And as a consequence, one of my favorite things about watching my nephew play is he doesn't celebrate the goal. He scores millions of them, never doesn't celebrate any of them. He's just like, he'll just put his head down and just walk off. All of his friends are going mad. And he's just...
Yeah, I love it.
I think he rang me the other day. Uncle, I played my first game for Aston Villa. I was like, oh, well done, mate. How did it go? Yeah, we won 7-2. I scored 4 goals. I was like, oh, well done, mate. Who are you playing? Cardiff. Thanks.
He's only phoned you to mock you. I love it.
That was it. That was really reason.
Cool. So we move on to number 5. It's the big 5. What are the 5 key attributes you feel should be top of the list to make the complete modern day footballer? So not necessarily any position specific, just literally the player as a whole.
I think, in my opinion, I mean, teamwork and work rate are the 2 biggies, because I mean, I believe in every walk of life, whether it be sport, professionally, in your business life or whatever, being a team player and working hard can overcome anything, any lack of ability you can have. And it doesn't matter if you've got somebody who's miles better than you. And I say this to my kids, you know, because naturally I've always been good at things naturally, whether it be academically, musically, or in sport. Just naturally, I'm good at things. But what I haven't had, and certainly didn't when I was younger, was that work ethic. To build on top of it. And what you find is then people who work hard, but they're starting at a lower point, that hard work gets them over the line every time, you know. And and that's something that if I was to go back in time and instill upon myself would be that hard work ethic. And I think that's really important. But I think that's not to be confused in football with running around like a lunatic. Those things are not mutually exclusive. No, because I think you see, if you've got a central midfielder, and we're so guilty of that in this country, of our central midfielders need to be running like nutters. You need to be up here, back there. And when everybody's been running around, like, and it's one of the things people say about N'Golo Kante is like, oh, he's just everywhere. He's all over the pitch. What a worker. But it's doing it strategically. If your role is to be the defensive midfielder, but you're shutting someone down at the corner flag in the opposition's half, you are the failure in that position. You're letting your team down. And just because you've worked hard to get up there and get back in time, you've exhausted energy that you shouldn't have done. And I think that ties into the teamwork element of understanding what your role is and sort of sticking in your lane. Because I know, like on Football Manager, you'll have, be more expressive. And I think with it works is that if you got certain players who are on the defending role, if you like, or supporting, then the attacking role, so they can be more expressive. Because if everybody is, it doesn't make any sense. And you've got to, and to quote The Rock, you've got to know your role, jabroni.
Yeah.
So I think those two are really important. I think your technique is an obvious one. I think anyone who doesn't quote technique is sort of a little bit crazy, because even your goalkeeper needs to be able to do a rotunda and just be able to score beautiful goals and pass the ball, under the eye of a needle, and be able to shave a gnat's nuts with the football, when they're playing. So technique is really important. I would say your agility is really good. I mean, if you look at people like James Milner, and Ryan Giggs, big thing that they quote is yoga, because it gives their body consistently that flexibility, because you get so many muscle injuries because the game is so fast and so rapid. You can warm up to your heart's content, you can be as fit as a fiddle, but if your body hasn't got that flexibility, you're going to be caught in a position where it's just not gone into before, and there's certain things you can't stretch and to be ready for. And I think if you've not got that agility, you can be caught out of position or trying to do like a half turn. You're running towards here and something happens and you decide to take a quick sharp turn. If you've not got that agility, if you're a little bit rigid, if I've had back issues very recently, where I slipped a disc in my back, and I found if you've not got that movement that you need to have, it just slows everything down. You end up with a turning circle like Harry Maguire does these days at the moment. And so I think agility is really important. The last thing, I think that's the last thing. Yeah, the last one.
Teamwork,
agility,
work rate, technical agility. Yep.
So the fifth one is the biggest one for me, which sort of ties in a little bit with the teamwork and heart rate, but it's not. But it's your attitude, and your attitude and your sort of personality. That is, I mean, I've done a lot of hiring in my professional world, and one of the things, the ethos I stick to is you can always teach ability, you can't teach attitude. You can teach aptitude, you can't teach attitude, because people can learn things. You can learn how to do things, and to be fair, I don't think there's anything in the world that somebody cannot learn to do. But you need to have that attitude to do it. You've got to be able, to suck it up when things are going bad. I think, who did I see the other day? I was in a conference, there was a keynote speaker, Mason Halls, something like that. He's an ex-Marine. And he used to say, one of the things that gone through the expeditions is, the one thing you can control is your attitude. That's the only thing you control. Things will happen. You might get injuries. You might get your teammates around you might be falling apart. You might be struck by lightning halfway through a game, and you might be like Gary Lineker and crap yourself on the pitch and have to rub your arse on the grass.
Drag along like a dog,
but to have that attitude, to get up and to keep going. I mean, I don't know about you. If I shit myself in front of millions of people, I don't think I'd be too keen on carrying on playing that game and performing well. I'd probably be thinking, now might be the time to go home.
If I had navy shorts, I'd probably, if they were white.
But it is, attitude is so important. Like I said, because it impacts everything. How hard you work at something, the respect that you have for other people. I mean, a thing that pisses me off, and I royally mean it pisses me off in football, is the way that referees are treated. It drives me mad. I think we should yellow card everybody that ever gives the ref shit, to just yellow card a lot of them. That would be sensational. Absolutely. And I don't like it. Don't like it. I think everyone should just grow up and live with it. But that attitude of, shit's going to happen. Should I go up and give this guy a load of verbal for doing his job and for what he should be doing? Because then what happens is that is then relayed into the crowd. So then you get lunatics then thinking it's acceptable to run onto the pitch and to do stuff and throw things onto the pitch because, everyone's all geared up. Everyone's getting angry. That's how you channel that. A perfect example, I think, tallies into again the Huddersfield Cardiff game I was at last week before, where in the first half Huddersfield were all over Cardiff, dominating them, but every time Cardiff broke, they were dangerous because they were big, strong bullies in that game. They just bullied Huddersfield, and every time they went forward, I thought, oh god, this isn't looking good. And a friend of mine said, how do you think it's going to go? I said, if it stays like this, Cardiff are going to win 1-0. What needs to happen is you've got to move the ball a bit quicker, release it a bit quicker, and just trust each other and trust yourselves to take a chance, because they won. It's like everyone was waiting for somebody else to do something. And then in the second half, then lo and behold, Cardiff went forward and scored a goal in the 51st minute, but then shut up shop And their attitude was, we're away from home, we've got this goal, we've been bullying them all game, we've got them, we're just going to contain them and keep them out. And that was their attitude. We were just going to hold it and keep it out. But then Huddersfield were wilting. They weren't going to do anything. But then what happened was the Cardiff striker, their number 9, I don't know who he is, I can't quite remember. I think I was going to say he came from Millwall, but I don't think he did. But he was in number 9 and elbowed one of the Huddersfield players. And I don't want to say deliberately, but there wasn't a need for him to swing his arm. Like, he wasn't jumping for a ball. He was just sort of leaning back, caught him a treat. And it ended up in a big fracas. Everyone was all over each other and they were getting really angry. The fans, Cardiff fans were getting very animated. The Huddersfield fans were getting quite angry. But what that did, the attitude of the Huddersfield players, whereas they could have just gone full on fire mode, let's get at them, let's smash the crap out of them. They hit us, we're going to hit them. But they didn't. What they decided to do, their attitude was, well, we're going to keep going while we're doing what we're doing, but we're going to be better than them. We're going to show them now that they can't do that. They can't get away with that. And I think they scored an equaliser 70th-ish minute. But then what happened was there was 9 minutes extra time because of the stoppage. And you could see Huddersfield and their attitude was, we're going to go on. They wasn't aggressive. They weren't snapping at heels. They weren't trying to write people out, which you could perfectly understand if they did. Yeah. Perfectly understand. And that's where a lot of teams fall down. But they kept going. They kept doing what they were doing and playing properly. And Cardiff were wilting. You could see that they didn't have it. They didn't know what to do. And because their attitude had been, we're bigger than you and we're going to bully you, the fact was like the underdog was slowly beating them down. 97th minute equaliser, I believe it was. A winner, even 97th minute, they went 2-1 up. And that was all about the attitude of the team, not refusing to be beaten, working for each other, working hard in the positions that they've got. I think the guy that scored the winner was like the defensive midfielder. And he just found himself in a position where they'd all been working. They had managed to separate Cardiff out, and he had that clear space to pick up a winner. And that's all attitude. And I think it's so important in life. In general, your attitude and the way you apply yourself to something is vital. And I think especially in football, which, I mean, if you look at my 5 points, I would say nearly all of them are mentality. I think more or less, and they're all a mindset. And I think it's a big thing. You can be naturally gifted and fall away. There's plenty, I can't think of examples like that, but people like, like Freddie Adu is the first one that comes into my mind, and young players who had all this hype potential. But just didn't reach it. And then people, I want to say, and this might sound wrong, but I want to say like David Beckham, I don't think had all the gifts. He didn't have all the tools in his toolbox. But he's Frank Lampard. There's a better one. Openly, nobody thought he was one of the best players. There's a period of time where he wasn't. When he's in that West Ham squad, he wasn't the best. And if you remember, the fans are calling out for a guy whose name I don't even remember, which is so relevant, because they were saying he should be playing instead of Frank. And Harry Redknapp said, this guy's going to be the future. He's here, the first one in, last one out. He works hard. He does all of this. And it was all mentality for Frank Lampard. And you watch him and he used to irritate the pants out of me, because you could tell he wasn't the best midfielder out there, but he had worked on everything. His free kicks, his shooting, his positioning, everything he'd worked really hard on. And it'd be grudging. I find it really hard to praise a Chelsea player. It's hurting my heart a little bit. I'll have to slag them off like torrentially at a later date to try and compensate. But I think that's a perfect example of, that attitude, hard work, application, the teamwork is what built him. And football's littered with examples of that, with people who don't work hard, fall away. Mario Balotelli, for example. I think yesterday, I was listening to The Athletic, and they were saying there was an interview recently where he said, I had all the natural ability of Cristiano Ronaldo, but I just didn't work hard. Ronaldo worked his nuts off, and is 36, 37?
Yeah, he's 37 next season, I think. Yeah,
something like that. And let's be fair, this is probably the first season where he's wilting, where most players have retired 5 years ago from that sort of level of football. But he's worked his nuts off, and Balotelli is a couple of years younger than him. And is he like the Italian second division? I think.
I think he was playing for Monza or someone like that. Yeah. Or exactly. He had a little stint at Brescia, and just
that's the team I was thinking of. Exactly. And mentality is a big thing, I think.
Yeah.
I bet that was a big answer, wasn't it?
It was, but that's the point. That's the point of that. So we've got teamwork, we've got work rate, obviously go hand in hand. The technique and the agility, I think, is a good one as well, because it is that movement of the body, it's the movement around. The technique, you've got to have in the list of 5 things that make the ideal footballer. One of them's got to be football related.
It's got to be. Yeah. You need one. Otherwise, I could have been describing a fireman. Otherwise,
Exactly. And then attitude is key, as you say. There's so many players who don't have the right attitude and just throw it all away because they think their level of skill is going to carry them. And then the guys who don't necessarily have the same skill level, but work on the attributes they do have to make them the best. And move forward.
I remember outside of football as well, the attitude element of it. I'm not going to name names, but you will know immediately there's certain footballers in the very, very recent past who are currently not playing football because the attitude that they had is not right. It's not consistent with being a decent human being more than anything else. And as a consequence, the likelihood of them playing football again, I mean, the fact that there's 2 of them in the Premier League is heartbreaking. Yeah, but that it's huge. It's a massive thing to get right.
Exactly. Right, that is it. That is done. All that listening, as we say, you will find links to Josh's stuff for FMFO official, all underneath him on the live show on the YouTube channel, and obviously in the descriptions if you are listening to us on Anchor FM or Spotify. Josh, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. And we will speak to you very, very soon.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun. And check us out. I think certainly live, this has been my best behaved, I think.
Well, I'm glad you reined it in for us. Cheers, guys.
Have a good one.
Cheers.